Jacaerys Velaryon. He was Queen Rhaenyra's eldest son and heir. During the Dance of the Dragons, Jace became one of the Black faction's most vital figures. He personally secured alliances across Westeros, travelling to the north and the Vale, strengthening his mother's claim, and rallying powerful houses to her cause. His fate was sealed at the Battle of the Gullet. As the Triarchy's fleet attacked Black-controlled waters, Jace entered the battle, riding his dragon, Vermax. During the fighting, Vermax was struck. Crossbow bolts tore into the dragon, one piercing its eye. Blinded and in agony, Vermax lost control and flew too low over the battlefield. Moments later, the dragon crashed into a burning warship. Jace leapt free before impact. He survived the fall, clinging to wreckage in the water below. But survival was brief. As he struggled amid the debris, Triarchy soldiers spotted him. Myrish crossbowmen opened fire. Bolt after bolt struck Jace as he floated helplessly in the sea. Wounded, exhausted, and unable to escape, he finally slipped beneath the waves. He drowned in the waters of the Gullet. His death delivered a devastating blow to the Blacks. Jacaerys Velaryon had been Rhaenyra's heir, her most promising successor, and one of her most capable commanders. Aemond Targaryen. His final battle came when he faced his uncle, Daemon Targaryen. Daemon challenged Aemond to single combat. The two met above the God's Eye, each mounted on their dragons. Aemond on Vhagar, Daemon on Caryxes. What followed was one of the most legendary dragon duels in Targaryen history. The dragons tore at each other mid-air, claws and flame ripping through the sky. Locked together above the lake, they twisted and struggled as smoke and fire surrounded them. In that moment, Daemon made his move. He leapt from Caryxes onto Vhagar. High above the water, with both dragons still locked in combat, Daemon drove the Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, through Aemond's remaining eye. Mortally wounded, the dragons spiraled downward. They crashed into the waters of the God's Eye below. Aemond's body was later found still chained to Vhagar's saddle, Dark Sister embedded in his skull. Otto Hightower. Otto Hightower died after the fall of King's Landing. For years, Otto had been the chief architect of the Green Cause. As Hand of the King, he manoeuvred politically to place his grandson, Aegon II, on the Iron Throne after King Viserys I's death. His strategy relied on swift action, secrecy, and securing the capital before Rhaenyra could respond. But when Rhaenyra's forces finally took King's Landing, Otto's influence ended. He was captured when the city fell to the Blacks. Unlike battlefield deaths marked by dragonfire, Otto's end was deliberate and political. Rhaenyra ordered his execution. He was publicly beheaded for treason, accused of orchestrating the usurpation that ignited the Dance of the Dragons. There was no trial beyond the accusation, no last-minute rescue. Otto Hightower, once the most powerful political mind in the realm, died not in battle, but at the command of the Queen. He had spent years trying to deny the throne. His death symbolized the temporary triumph of the Black faction, though the war was far from over. Alicent Hightower. Alicent Hightower did not die during the main battles of the Dance of the Dragons. After King's Landing fell to Rhaenyra, Alicent was taken captive and confined within the Red Keep. Once queen and a central force behind Aegon II's claim, she was reduced to a political prisoner as the war continued around her. She lived long enough to see the destruction of her family. Her father, Otto, was executed. Her sons, Aemond and Aegon II, were killed. The green cause she had fought to secure ultimately collapsed. After Aegon II's death and the crowning of Aegon III, Alicent remained in the capital, but her influence was gone. She spent her final years isolated, grieving, and increasingly withdrawn from court life. The losses weighed heavily on her. She died during the reign of Aegon III, remembered as a tragic and controversial figure, a queen mother who helped ignite a civil war that destroyed nearly her entire family. Unlike many others in the dance, Alicent's death was not sudden or violent. It was slow, quiet, and marked by the consequences of a war that consumed everything she had tried to protect. King Aegon II. Aegon II Targaryen did not die in battle. After the fall of Rhaenyra Targaryen, Aegon reclaimed King's Landing and briefly secured his claim to the Iron Throne. However, the war had broken him physically and politically. He was severely injured after the Battle of Rook's Rest, his dragon Sunfire crippled, and much of his strength gone. Though he outlived Rhaenyra, his rule remained unstable. The realm was exhausted by war, armies were still marching, and support for his cause continued to weaken. Many lords no longer believed he could restore peace. Soon after reclaiming the throne, Aegon fell gravely ill. He was found dead, poisoned. The exact conspirators were never officially confirmed, but suspicion fell on members of his own council. Faced with a fractured kingdom and the advancing forces loyal to Rhaenyra's surviving son, Aegon III, powerful figures chose stability over loyalty. Rather than continue the bloodshed, they ended Aegon II's life. With his death, the Dance of the Dragons effectively came to an end. Rhaenyra Targaryen. Rhaenyra Targaryen died after being betrayed and captured by her half-brother, King Aegon II Targaryen. After briefly ruling from King's Landing, Rhaenyra lost control of the city as unrest grew among the small folk and her support collapsed. Forced to flee, she sought refuge on Dragonstone, unaware it had already fallen into Aegon II's hands. When she arrived, she was seized. Rhaenyra was brought before Aegon II in chains. The war between them had devastated the realm, and neither side was willing to yield. Aegon chose a public and brutal end. Before her young son, Aegon III, Rhaenyra was fed to Aegon's dragon, Sunfire. The dragon tore into her, burning and devouring her as the boy was forced to watch. Her death marked one of the most brutal moments of the Dance of the Dragons. Though Aegon II eliminated his rival, the act did not secure lasting victory. The war continued briefly, and in the end, Rhaenyra's son would inherit the throne. Rhaenyra Targaryen died by dragonfire, but her bloodline ultimately prevailed.